I do want to say one thing. One of the people that just jumped on will be speaking next week, and that's Hayden Crawford. Hayden, welcome to the call. He's from Australia. I met him on the internet, and I was so excited about what he does that I invited him to be one of the speakers on one of the calls. So he's joined us tonight, and I just want to say a shout out to him tonight.
Hello, Hayden. How you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, no, it's nice to be here. I was looking forward to joining this session today and finding out a little bit more. So I don't know too much about dowsing myself. So, you know, I think this one's about energy clearing, isn't it? So it's going to be amazing. So thank you for doing this.
Yes, and what are you speaking on next week?
I'm doing the wisdom of color numerology, actually. Yeah, so I work with quite an advanced color therapy system called the color mirrors. And it's a sequence of 87 different dual-colored oil bottles and over sort of 60 different essence sprays. And it's a numerology-based system that dates back to Atlantis. So it's full of really incredible wisdom that dates back to the sort of Melchizedek Elohim Grail line.
Well, we like Melchizedek, that's for sure.
Good.
Zarathustra.
Fabulous. So I'm in the right place then.
Yes, absolutely. I thought you'd fit right in.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, welcome. So we're back. Robert is the best space clearing person on this planet. So those of you that have joined in, you're going to hear absolutely the best this evening. It's about 6:02. I think we should let them keep coming in. They're streaming in, and I'm having to admit them, so it's taken me a little bit longer here. We've got a great show planned tonight, and then we've already told you a little piece about next week. Don't miss next week. We have Hayden on the call with us, and it's going to be fantastic as well. Tonight we have Robert, and he's going to just knock it out of the ballpark for us. I'm really excited about learning how to do some space clearing, and we'll see when we're done. We'll all be calling Robert and saying, "Hey, we need your help." So this is going to be exciting.
I tell you, Sue, you're raising the bar a little high here for me. Oh, God.
Oh, come on. You can do it. You know, we have the best people on the planet that are involved in ASD. So everybody out there has so much talent. If you put us all in a room, the room probably glows. Or you know what, I've been at some conferences where everything shuts down. Electronically, we're so charged up that actually the electronics and the electricity go down in some rooms where I've been. So you never know, but yeah, we're pretty charged up, I think.
And Sue, can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, you sound great. Picture looks good. Yeah, everything looks good.
Okay. Well, shall we get this party started?
I think so. This is Robert. Robert's going to talk about space clearing and your energy frequency. He is truly amazing. So sit back and take some notes. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay. Well, Sue, it is always a pleasure to visit with you. And I am delighted to speak this evening on the subject of space clearing and your energy frequency. I would like to begin with energy frequency and why energy frequency is important. And whenever I space clear a person's home or property, I first take the energy frequency of the person and people living in the home and property, and then I measure the energy frequency of the home and property itself. My experience has been, in almost all cases, the energy frequency of the home and property is lower than the energy frequency of the people living in the home at that time.
Wow. Robert, can you explain what you mean by energy frequency?
Sure. Some of you may be familiar with the work of David Hawkins. and his book, Power and Force. He developed an energy frequency scale based on levels of consciousness. And let's see if I can post. Let's see here. Files. Hello. My computer has been going very, very slow. Well, good question. Well, now the energy, let's see here. What other options do I have for this?
You could show it on your share screen.
Yeah, I have it. Well, I tell you this.
Look, do you see on the right-hand side at the bottom of the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, it says file.
Is there? Yeah, I see it there.
Okay, click on
And
file.
I'm gonna see if I can just pull it up here. And see if this works. Okay, let's see here. Well, I don't want to disconnect from the Zoom meeting. Okay, share screen. Let's see if I can do anything here.
Can you tell us in your own words?
Yeah, well, I may well have to do that here if I can't post it. My apologies for not
Oh, that's nothing.
not having it available at this time.
I do believe it was emailed out in the newsletter, like the 2 attachments. So most people might have it.
Oh.
I do have it myself, so.
Yeah, so the David Hawkins, I'll just go into it as best I can. Okay, can anyone see me?
We can still
Yes.
see you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the David Hawkins scale, on the Dale Hawkins scale, he identifies levels of consciousness from the lowest, which he labels as shame and apathy, up to the highest identified as peace, joy, and enlightenment. Then he assigns an energy frequency number to each level of consciousness from 0 to 20 for shame, up to 700 to 1,000 for enlightenment. The energy frequency I use measures brain wave frequencies, which also relate to levels of consciousness. There are 4 brain wave frequencies: beta waves, alpha waves, theta waves, and delta waves. Now, if I could post my brainwave frequency chart, which I'm not able to do, my apologies, but if you did receive it, you'll note that 1 hertz of brain waves is how many brain waves are in 1 second. And brain waves also relate to levels of consciousness. If we are in beta brain waves, we experience feelings of separateness from oneness. We experience chaos, feelings of separateness, confusion, stress, and depression in our lives. When we are in delta brainwaves, we are enlightened beings. In the brainwave scale I use, in the frequency scale, beta is measured as 1 to 10 in my energy frequency, and alpha is measured as 11 to 22. Theta is measured as 22 to 31, and delta is 31, 32 and above. Now, I know some people reverse this scale, with beta being the highest number and delta being the lowest. But you can't get hung up on the scale, on what scale you use. It really doesn't matter what scale you use, as long as it's consistent and accurate. It's just a measuring tool so that you can more effectively use dowsing and space clearing. For me, I'm measuring the amount of light in a person, place, or thing. The more light, the higher the number. The less light, the lower the number. And that's energy frequency. And so why is energy frequency important to space clearing? When I measure the energy frequency of the people living in a home, and then measure the energy frequency of the home and property, I then can see what I'm dealing with. Every home is built on a specific piece of land, and that building and property has its own unique history. So just like people, your home has its own energy frequency. And we want our home to be at an energy frequency that is uplifting, like a high energy frequency friend, someone who's intelligent, creative, fun to be with, someone who helps raise your energy frequency to a higher level just by being in their radiation. In fact, your home's energy frequency is even more important than the energy frequency of your friend, because you're encased in your home and you spend large amount of time in the home, sleeping, and for an extended period of time. If your home's energy frequency is lower than yours, which in my experience has been almost in all cases, it drags you down. Hold on 1 second here. Okay, well. Okay, my apologies there. We have a cleaning lady Jenny, who comes to our home and cleans our home once a month. Jenny is the best. When Jenny comes to our home, I shout, "We're saved. Jenny is here." And when I return home after Jenny has cleaned our home, you can feel the order, the pristine purity. Sue, can you imagine if you never cleaned your home, never took out the garbage, never cleaned the toilets, never dusted, never cleaned up all the spills and the dirt you tracked in from the outside? And not just you, but all the previous people who've lived in your home. The place would be an absolute pigsty and couldn't possibly support a high frequency person. Unfortunately, energetically, this is exactly what I encounter in most homes and explains why in most cases, the home's energy frequency is below the people who are living there.
Wow. Robert, when you're space clearing a home, what energies are you clearing?
Well, I'm clearing emotional energy, mental energy, spirit energy, and entities. All energy generated by the human consciousness less than enlightenment. For example, mental and emotional energy, worry, fear, anger, grief, resentment, emotional outbursts, and then depending on the intensity of the emotion and the number of times it is repeated and reinforced, it takes on a life of its own. Take just the COVID pandemic, for example. Think of the huge collection of energy, of the energy of fear, grief, anger, criticism, resentment. These accumulated energies build up, soak into the walls and floors and furniture in your homes, and permeates the home. Thought forms, for example, created by revolving thoughts of worry, criticism, condemnation, and judgment. All this limited energy creates an energetic dust, clouds of negative energy or worse in your living space. And if not cleaned up, will serve to pull you down. Then there are entities, energetic forms in most cases created by intense emotional and mental energy, violence, drug abuse, alcoholism, mental illness, perverted sex practices. And then also, there are spirits of people who have died and for some reason have not moved on to higher realms. In most cases, people who die move on to higher realms after their death. But in some cases, they get stuck and remain stuck in this physical realm. Let's take a space clearing I ran and run through it so you can see how it's done. A client of mine spends a month in Jamaica each year. Yeah, man. And they asked me to clear this past year the suite at the resort where they are staying. In this case, there were 5 sort of run-of-the-mill entities that needed clearing. And then crouched in the corner of the room was the spirit of a person who died, who appeared to be a girl and was in very bad condition. I do this remotely from my office in Minnesota, and it's just like I'm there. Although it's not really necessary, I like to pull up Google Earth and view the property so that I can see what's happening around the property that I'm doing the space clearing. After doing my protection ritual for me individually, and then also for the property itself, I identify a specific location in one of the rooms and establish a portal that runs from the third dimension up to the fifth dimension. I flood and saturate the entire area with light using color light energy frequencies to literally transmute the pollution and negative emotional and mental energy in the home or location, transforming it into light. So let's get this party started. First, I always start by flooding and saturating the entire area with oceans of unconditional love, the color of rose light. I begin with unconditional love because all that is destructive is some form of hate, and love is the most effective in dissolving and consuming hate. Remember if you're old enough, remember the large dance floors where they had the giant mirrored ball in the middle, many-faceted mirrored ball flashing light rays throughout the dance floor? I like to set one of those up at that point so that there's a continuous flashing of rose light throughout the area. Then I add the violet flame. I fog the entire area with violet flame, and then I establish tornadoes of violet flame roaring through the area. Except in this case, the tornadoes of violet flame spin in a clockwise, not counterclockwise direction. The violet flame serves as a giant dust collector. Then I move to white light to purify the space and go into deep cleaning, scouring the walls, floors, and furniture like a million Mr. Clean magic eraser pads, pulling out of the walls, floors, and ceilings all the energy frequency less than enlightenment. Then I add the emerald light through and flashing through the entire space. And this serves as a healing salve to heal any scars or abrasions that remain in the room. The entities are encouraged to go into the portal and are given the appropriate treatment and sent to the realm of spirit where they need to go. With entities, I continue to add more light, needed light colors, whatever needed light colors are required to provide them with the needed encouragement to move into that portal and move on to higher realms. If need be, I can use lightning bolts to provide more encouragement for recalcitrant entities to sort of move things along. There's nothing like a lightning bolt to demand attention. So at this point, everything's now taken care of, except the spirit entity that's even more frightened and frozen in the corner. With spirit entities, you always want to be very careful because you never know who you're dealing with. I have two spirit guides that I work with, one male and one female. And in this case, the female entity or the female spirit guide stepped through the veil and walked over to the little girl who was the spirit of the little girl in the corner, and took her hand, and they started walking through the room to the portal. About halfway across the room, the little girl collapsed on the floor. The spirit guide picked up the little girl and carried her into the portal. They were engulfed by light for a few seconds and then disappeared into the higher realms. I then check to make sure everything is cleared and then close the portal. Then I encase the entire suite and balcony in a wall of invincible white light bars to ensure that nothing less than enlightenment can get back in. Then finally, I seal the entire area with a golden dome. And before I started this space clearing, I always take the energy frequency of the property. In this suite of rooms, the energy frequency was 11, which is terrible. It's just basically a point above separateness and the beta frequencies. After I was done space clearing the property, the energy frequency was 854. And that is over 75 times higher. There's more that I do, but that is a general explanation. I'm basically the cosmic cleaning lady.
Yay! Hey, Robert, can you do this space clearing for any home, business, office, or property remotely from where you are? And is it just as effective as if you were there in person?
That is correct. However, whenever possible, I like to meet the people and visit the property in person. So Sue, you and all the people here who are joining us can learn to do this same space clearing I've done. It just takes a little time and practice. But let's face it, not everybody likes to clean toilets. And so fortunately, Dowsing Design is here to space clear your home and property, clean up all the energetic mess, and remove all the entities and spirit entities. This will help create a higher energy frequency environment in your home and office that will be healthier, more comfortable, and naturally help transform you into a higher energy frequency.
Well, how much do you charge for a space clearing like this?
So you would have to ask that question.
I'm just curious.
Okay, I charge $300 for a home or regular suite of offices up to 3,000 square feet. But Sue, for you and for anyone here who mentions this space clearing and energy frequency presentation, it's $100 off for your first space clearing.
Wow, that's a great deal. How often do you recommend a person space clear their home?
Well, for starters, at least once. Most people's homes or business offices have never been space cleared. And after that, I recommend once a year. I like to do it at the change of the New Year or Chinese New Year. Some people prefer a couple times a year at the summer solstices.
Oh, that makes sense. And how can people contact you if they want to reach you?
Well, I ask people to email me. My email address is robert@dowsingdesign, DESIGN, callan.com. Please include a brief description of how I can help you, along with your full name, phone number, and the best time to contact you by phone. I'll then call you and we can discuss by phone what you need and confirm that you'd like me to go ahead and assist you.
Well, Robert, you mentioned clearing entities in homes and office. Do some people themselves have entities? And can you help to clear those too?
Yes, Sue, just like homes, people can pick up entities and in an unguarded moment, they can attach to your body or hang around in your aura field. I'm happy to clear people of any entities that they may have picked up. Each home is largely the victim of the limited human consciousness of the people who are living there or frequent there. However, people are responsible for their own human feelings, thoughts, and actions. People can be cleared of entities and then can reacquire them due to an impure lifestyle or limited consciousness. But I'm happy to clear people of any entities they may have encountered.
Well, Robert, I think we've reached the end of our time together. Again, how can people contact you?
Well, people can email me. Again, it's robert@dowsingdesign.com.
And that's in the chat. I put it over in the chat for everybody.
Okay. But Sue, we
What?
haven't reached the end yet.
Oh.
We like to have fun. And there's one more thing I'd like to share with you.
Okay.
And then we can move to questions if you like.
Okay.
So let's talk fundamentals. Generally, our physical eyes cannot see entities. But long before I ever learned to dowse, I could feel and sense when they're present. One of the first things I learned about entities is that stainless steel blades can cut them and be used to clear them. Now, it's not the most elegant method, but just like people, entities can be cut with steel blades. So I've been space clearing now for over 30 years. So this is quite a while ago when I first learned this. So when I first learned this, I went to the specialty kitchen knife store and I bought the longest carving blade that they had, which at the time was called Excalibur. The carving blade itself had to be at least 18 inches long, and it was razor sharp. I found it to be extremely effective at clearing entities. And with the exception of so in terms of entities, I have to say that frankly, I have no compassion for entities. With the exception of spirit entities, the spirits of people who have moved on to higher realms, who have not yet moved on to higher realms, all other entities, as far as I'm concerned, are some form of misqualified energy. And frankly, I'm doing the planet a favor by eliminating them. So long ago, when I'd first learned this, I woke up and I felt that I may have picked up an entity. And so I decided to clear myself using the Excalibur carving knife. Now, this is not recommended for children. So I used my normal approach. And let's see if you can see me here. There we go. So I used my normal approach, and for some reason or other, I couldn't get the entity off of my right foot. So I kept going closer and closer, and uh-oh, I sliced off half of my little toe down to the bone. There was blood everywhere, but I did get the entity. So now that was actually the last time I ever used the Excalibur carving knife for space clearing. And I learned firsthand why you don't use battle sharpened blades for clearing entities. But stainless steel blades are very effective at clearing entities. So I ultimately changed over to this blade, which is also very effective, but not nearly as sharp and much safer for toes and body parts.
So what happened to your toe?
Well, I went to the hospital and bandaged it up. So I was rather young at the time. So I'm pleased to report that it did grow back over time. So I still have all 5 toes. So, and so that's how I began a space clearing. And now I space clear using light, intention, and direction.
Robert, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we take questions?
Well, I think right now, why don't we take some questions?
Okay.
And I know one person has asked, how do I actually assess or take the energy frequency? And so I wanted to ask you, Sue, would you mind if I used you as an example?
Oh, go right ahead.
I tell you, Sue, you're unstoppable. Okay, so what I do is I will ask.
Jeff.
Can you see me okay? There we go. Okay. And so what I will ask is, can I take Sue's energy frequency? And show me Sue's energy frequency in thousands. Is it above 3,000? Is it above 4,000? And then show me energy frequency above, Sue's energy frequency above 3,000 in hundreds. Above 3,900 in tens. above 3,960 in ones. Is it 3,964? Did I have that right? Was that the right? 3,964? 3,965? Did I have the right 10s in there? Was it 8? 3,984? 3,985, 3,984. Okay, so Sue, your personal energy frequency right now is 3,984. Now I know you like to be very, very high, and this is not the Raymond Grace scale. My scale is somewhere a little bit less than 10% of what the Raymond Grace scale is. So don't go into a funk on that score. But so that's how I take energy frequency. I use L-rods. You can do it with a pendulum as well, where you have the scale of 1 to 100, and you just do it in tens, thousands, ones. And that's how I establish the energy frequency scale of the property or person.
So with a number like mine, what does that tell you? Is that high? Is it low? Is it middle? What is it?
Well, it's very high.
Oh.
And of course, you're in McCall, Idaho, and have been there at that Crystal Mountain,
Yes.
charging up for I don't know how long. So 33 is where really delta brain waves go. Now there's no limit to how high you can go, energy frequency wise, but that's way up there.
Okay.
And of course, there's no competition here. The objective, if somebody has a higher energy frequency and someone has a lower energy frequency, that doesn't mean anything other than what happens to be what is at that moment. That doesn't mean that Sue's better than somebody else, or somebody's not as good as Sue, or anything like that. It's just a matter of doing that scale, of measuring the energy frequency, the amount of light present in a person, place, or thing at that time.
Well, we have a few questions here in the chat. Do you work with a property plan, or do you remote view?
I remote view. So I do like the Google Earth, because it will at least give me the specific location and shape of the property. But in space clearing, I don't need like you do in feng shui, where you get a drawing of the property. That's not necessary in this particular case.
There's another question here. How do you clear yourself, and how often? Not using a stainless steel blade. I know that.
Well, actually, I do, because it's like what you're used to, and stainless steel blades are very effective. But ultimately, I use the same approach. If somebody has my wife works at the hospital in the psych ward. And so sometimes she comes back. Now, we've been doing some things to avoid this being the case, but for a while there, she was coming back, and she'd have picked up some entities So then I would clear them. Now you can clear them with the blade. I can have her stand there, and I can chop them right off her without hitting her, and which is the old style. But I generally just use light to remove them from the person, and then disperse them. And so they will be dissolved by light and transformed into light by high enough intensity of light.
And how often do you clear yourself?
I actually don't clear myself very often anymore, because at a certain energy frequency, see, right now, in my line of work, I have to do large amounts of protection.
Right.
And protection rituals and forces and force fields around me to protect me from any energies less than perfection. And in doing that, you set up an impenetrable force field to entities in general. I mean, I once stayed at a place, I got an Airbnb, and I went into this place, and it appeared to be sort of a nice Airbnb in Charlotte, but there were like 19 entities in that property, and at least 4 or 5 of them were like gangster, bad types. And so you have to clear out all those energies, and you need to avoid being set upon by them in the process. So it's just something that I've done through my protection rituals. So I don't clear myself very often.
Okay, how would you go about clearing mass burial grounds in a neighborhood?
Well, you would do the same thing. You would set up, you would select that area. You would then do the, identify that area as the only area that you're clearing at the time. You would take the energy frequency of that area. You would then identify if there are any entities in that area. You would then set up a portal, could be a big portal, from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension, and then start flooding that area with light, and clear out everything that's in that locale, including any spirit entities that may be present in that location. So it's sort of the same process for wherever you're at, and bigger isn't necessarily more difficult.
Okay. What's the best and easiest way to clear yourself after working with clients?
Well, the best way of clearing yourself, of course, hands-on work is more of a challenge, and if in most cases, if you set up the proper protection rituals around you, even if you're doing clearing of clients, you can be insulated. You don't have to take on all that energy. If you're doing hands-on work, that becomes a bit more of a challenge, And frankly, if I was doing hands-on work and I was picking up entities in my activity, I would go back to my sword and I would just cut them away from me and establish uh, a light portal next to me and just have them slough off into that portal, and off they go. So.
Okay, and what color light are you using and how are you dispersing them? And I think that was just answered, but maybe what color light works best?
Well, love is the most, ultimately the most powerful, the most effective light, and I consider it rose light. There are 24 light colors that I work with, and I select and generally I work with violet. I'd say probably the violet light is the very most effective, because at this point it transmutes misqualified energy into light most effectively. So I'd always start or follow the rose light with violet light. I'd say violet light is the most effective currently at this time.
Wonderful. What's your opinion about using a tuning fork and a crystal? Is it very effective?
Well, sound and music can also clear can clear spaces. And I don't utilize that technique. So I'm not well qualified to respond on that one, but I know sound is very effective. So it was a tuning fork and what was the other one?
A crystal.
A crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, crystals are also very effective if you understand how to utilize the crystals. Again, it's sort of like sound. If you are an expert in crystals, I'm sure you can do something similar utilizing the different crystals. Again, that's not an area that I'm an expert in.
Okay. How long does an average clearing last?
Well, an average clearing will last as long as the people in that location do not mess it up. And so if this suite of rooms, for example, in Jamaica has been cleared, then there's protection around it. So nothing's getting in. Nothing's lowering the energy frequency, except the people who are there. Now, if they engage in any number of lower energy frequency activities, they'll just start, it's sort of like dirtying up your house again. You'll eventually, your house will get all filthy. But generally, it takes a longer time for that to happen energetically with people. So it lasts. It has very strong lasting effects, and I'd say it lasts with good hygiene, consciousness hygiene, at least a year for people and locations.
Okay. Can you share a protection ritual?
Well, I can at least, I use a very simple ritual, which involves establishing a tube of light around my, from my higher consciousness down below my feet. I then establish a spinning violet flame. In some cases, it's lightning violet flame inside the tube of light. I then establish a wall of blue flame outside the tube of light, out to a radius of 144 feet in all directions. And that would be the very basic ritual, which is actually very effective. And then I establish different force fields around that, and then golden lightning armors in between those force fields. So I've developed over time a rather established ritual, but the simple tube of light, violet flame inside, and wall of blue flame outside is very effective. And that's what my wife uses to keep safe in the mental ward at the hospital.
Do you have a DVD course that one can purchase to learn to do space clearing?
No, I haven't established anything. I have not established anything like that at this time. It's always possible that we can do something through the American Society of Dowsers in that regard, if there's an interest in that. But at this point, I just pretty much clear out anybody who needs help. I do the space clearing for them.
Okay, what recommendations or clearing do you have for someone who cannot sense or see energy? As in, how to get accurate info without being able to see?
Well, of course, you can't see the entities with your physical eyes anyway, or at least most people can't. Usually, I find that if you go to sleep, if you're trying to go to sleep and you can't get to sleep, your body will not let you go to sleep. Sometimes that's a tip-off that you have picked up an entity. And even if you don't know that you've been able, see, like in my case, if you are a dowser, you can then ask, you can ask your dowsing rods, do I have are there any entities have I picked up any entities in my body or in my aura field? And if it goes yes, then you ask how many, and then it'll tell you 1, 2, 3, and then you can do the same thing with your pendulum. Most everyone here, or not all, but most people are dowsers. If not, if you don't know, if you've got a not so sharp stainless steel blade, you can always just go ahead and say, hey, I wonder if I picked up any entities. And then you put your little tube of light on, and you put the spiral violet flame in the middle and wall of blue flame outside. And then you just go up and down your body around it. And that will effectively clear any entities, whether you know it or not. And then, so that'll get rid of them. It would be like if you were standing in my aura and I took this stainless steel blade and went, you would not want to be there anymore, or you'd be chopped in half. And so the same thing happens with the entities. And so you can effectively get rid of them, whether you can feel them or not. From time to time, you can do that.
Okay, that looks like all of the questions. Does anybody else have any questions that they would like to ask? Does anybody want to unmute themselves and ask a question?
I have a question. This is in reference to the toe chopping. You mentioned that you were having a hard time releasing it from your foot, like it was clinging on. Like,
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that, or why that happens? Or I guess, other than chopping the toe, like, do you just put more pressure or more light in that area to release it if it's holding on?
Yes, ultimately, a light is a more effective approach. This was before I realized that a light was a more effective approach, and it was just sort of a fun story. But yes, you apply more light, different colors of light, different intensities of light, lightning light, and I've never had an instance in which I could not relatively easily dispense and eliminate entities. And if nothing else, if they're really recalcitrant, you can hit them with a lightning bolt of blue or white lightning. And I got news for you. They're gone at that point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And Sue,
Yes.
we've reached the end of our time together. I'm very sorry that's the case, but it has been a delight to visit with you. It's always a delight to visit with you. Until our next visit, I will leave you with our Dowsing Design motto, which is raise your vibe.
Wow, I love it. Robert's information is in the chat. People are saying thank you. I'd like to say thank you as well. Everyone remember, next week, Hayden's going to be speaking. We talked to him a little bit at the beginning. He is awesome. I've been in email contact with him for about a year now. Robert and I always have a great time when we present. Stand by, because Robert and I will get back together in a few months and we'll give you some more really good information. Be sure to take down his contact, which is robert@dowsingdesign.com, and get in touch with him to get everything cleared up. Remember, he's is it the psychic cleaning lady? What are you?
Cosmic cleaning lady.
The cosmic cleaning lady. He will clean out the whole house. If you have old barns and stuff, whatever, give him a shout. I know he'd love to do it with you, or do it for you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Hayden, for being on. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good night,
Good night, all.
everybody.